Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed us to remain breathing, and He has allowed our hearts to remain beating in this blessed month of Muharram, this sacred month of Muharram, in which comes on the 10th of this day, this blessed day of Ashura, known as Ashura. This blessed day of Ashura is a very historically significant day, the 10th of Muharram, because many significant events took place on the day of Ashura. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has picked this day, the 10th of Muharram, throughout different ages, throughout different centuries, throughout different years, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has specified this day for many significant events and many blessed things to happen on this day. For example, there is a special dua that we recite on Ashura, known as the dua of Yawm Ashura. You can find it in the books of Wallaif, in the books of Adhkar and Dhikr, and inshallah we're encouraged to recite this dua on that day. What we see when we recite this dua, we find the different events that took place on this day. And for example, if we go from history, the first thing that's mentioned is, you say, Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya qabila tawbati Adam yawm Ashura. That, Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are the one who accepted the repentance of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam on the day of Ashura. This is one thing that happened. When Prophet Adam alayhi salam turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and his wife Sayyidina Hawa, our mother alayhi salam, this happened on, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted that on the day of Ashura. Another thing that happened is Prophet the Noon, known as Prophet Yunus alayhi salam, was saved on this day of Ashura. Subhanallah, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam was taken out of the fire on Yawm Ashura. Many things happened. The Prophet Salih alayhi salam made dua for his she-camel, An-Naqa, which is mentioned in the Quran, and this was accepted on the day of Ashura. It's also mentioned that Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam, the ark of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, when the flood came, Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and his followers and the animals, they were saved on Yawm Ashura. Right? And the most significant event for us Muslims, and the most historically important event which happened on this day, is the sacrifice of the blessed grandson of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Sayyidina Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu, and his blessed family and the household of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when they sacrificed their lives for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to uphold the religion of Islam, and to uphold the truth. This is the greatest thing that happened on this day. And this was after the physical passing of the Prophet ﷺ from this world. But the Prophet ﷺ was informed about this martyrdom in his time. For example, once the Prophet ﷺ, in his company was his wife, Sayyidah Salama, radiallahu anha. And Imam al-Hussein was there. And what happened was the Prophet ﷺ had turned his blessed face to another direction, and there were tears in his eyes. And Sayyidah Salama, his wife, radiallahu anha, noticed that there were tears in the eyes of the Prophet ﷺ. And she asked, Ya Rasulullah ﷺ, what grieves you? Why are you crying, O beloved Messenger ﷺ? And he said that Jibreel alayhi salam just came to me. Angel Jibreel alayhi salam came to me and informed me that people from your ummah will martyr your grandson. People from your own ummah will do injustice to your grandson, and he will become shaheed, he will become martyr. The greatest martyr in the history, Sayyid al-Shuhada, known as the leader of all the martyrs, Sayyidina Imam Hussein, and he was just a young boy at this time, and the Prophet ﷺ was informed about this. And in the narration it says that Angel Jibreel alayhi salam even brought the soil of the place where Imam Hussein will be martyred, which is Karbala. And he showed that to the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ was well aware of what would happen. But still, you look at the tarbiyah that the Prophet ﷺ gave his blessed grandsons. The prophetic tarbiyah that he gave to Imam al-Hasan al-Hussein, that they would spend time with the Prophet ﷺ. And we have to know that every touch, every gaze, every breath of the Prophet ﷺ is full of blessing. Even the touches of the Prophet ﷺ are full of blessing. I mentioned last week when Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu was asked by the Prophet, how much do you love me? And then the Prophet ﷺ struck his breast. And this is one narration when the Prophet ﷺ touched his chest, and then his iman was complete. Now he said that I love you more than myself even. So you see the touch of the Prophet ﷺ, there is barakah, there is blessing in that. Now I'm asking you, imagine Imam al-Hasan and Hussein. They're always in the arms of Rasulullah ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ is kissing them. The Prophet ﷺ is touching them. The Prophet ﷺ is spreading his blessed hand of shafaqah over their heads. The Prophet ﷺ, that's why at only a young age, and maybe 5 or 4 years old, the Prophet ﷺ declared that these two grandsons of mine are Sayyida Shababi Ahl Jannah. At such a young age, he said, my two grandsons, Al-Hasan and Hussein, are the leaders of the young people of paradise. Are the leaders of the youth in paradise. SubhanAllah, at such a young age, because the prophetic tarbiyah transformed them into spiritually high beings. They were given such maqams in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that our normal person cannot reach, because this was from the prophetic tarbiyah and the special khas care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah put them in the care of His beloved Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sayyidina Imam al-Hasan was 1 year older than Imam al-Hussein. So there was 1 year difference. Imam al-Hasan is older, Imam al-Hussein is the younger. So Imam al-Hasan, the word in Arabic, Hasan, al-Hasan means pure or good or excellent. And Hussein is a smaller version in Arabic of Hasan. So what happens, for example, if you say the word Asad, Asad means a lion. Usayd in Arabic means a smaller lion. So in the same way, Hasan is the pure one who is older, and Hussein is also pure, but the younger one. So because he was 1 year younger than his brother Al-Hasan radiallahu anhu. So this is the shahada and the martyrdom of Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu and his family at Karbala is the most significant event that happened on Ashura, but not the only event. So historically many events happened. But if you look at the comparison, and if you look at the events, 99% of the events that happen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saving the prophets, is saving their followers. What is unique about the event of Imam al-Hussein and Karbala and his family, the prophetic household of the family of the Prophet ﷺ, is physically they were not saved, they gave their lives for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They actually gave their lives. For example, Prophet Adam alayhi salam's tawbah was qabool on Yawm Ashura. Prophet Noor alayhi salam's people were saved on Yawm Ashura. Prophet Yunus was saved on Yawm Ashura. But when it comes to the prophetic family, the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, their maqam is so great, and their level is so high, and their shan and their stature is so high in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they said, we want to give our lives for you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they gave their lives for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the love of Allah and His Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If we look at the history and we study the events of Karbala, there are many books written and many articles written by the ulama. And many people say, Na'udhu billah, iyadhu billah, why did Imam Hussein go to Karbala? Because people were saying not to go, right? But it was also that the people of Kufa sent many letters to Imam Hussein, inviting him to come, and they said, we will do bay'ah with you. We will pledge our allegiance to you. Later on what happened is things flipped around and they changed their hearts. So they betrayed the Imam. But this was not the reason why Imam was going. And the Imam radiallahu anhu did not have any desire for khilafah. And he did not have any desire for the worldly power. We have to make this very clear. Why? Because who is the Imam? Who is Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu? If you want to know Imam al-Hussein, you have to know who is his grandfather sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Sayyid al-Kawnayn sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He was given the keys to the heavens and the earth. Jibreel came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and said, Allah is giving you the keys to the heavens and the earth. He said, even if we want to turn this mountain into gold, you can have this. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, I don't want it. The Prophet ﷺ refused. So this is Imam Hussein. He is from the prophetic family, and the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Hussein minni wa ana min al-Hussein. Subhanallah. So that Hussein is from me, and I am from Hussein. We can understand what it means when the Prophet ﷺ says Hussein minni. That Hussein is my grandson. He is from my offspring. He is from the sons of my daughter Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam. But what does it mean when the Prophet ﷺ says, Ana min al-Husayn? This is the greater statement. I am from Hussein. The Prophet ﷺ, one of the meanings is that my mission is going to be completed by Hussein and his family. That my deen is going to be upheld by the sacrifice of Imam Hussein and his family. That through the descendants of Imam Hussein continuing, and the Ahl-Al-Bayt that will continue to come in Yawm al-Qiyamah through the loins of Imam Ali Zayn al-Abidin and his descendants and so forth, the deen of Islam will be upheld and the values of Islam will be upheld. Right? Didn't the Prophet ﷺ say that I am leaving you two things, two weighty things, two heavy things, that if you hold fast to them, then you will never go astray. If you hold fast to these two things, you will never go astray. Kitabullahi, the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa itrati, and my descendants, my Ahl-Al-Bayt. If you hold fast to these two things, you'll never go astray. And these two things will not separate until they reach the Hawd, they reach the Hawd al-Kawthar. The Prophet ﷺ said, they will not separate. This is why the Quran and the Ahl-Al-Bayt are together. What does that mean? That if you want to see a manifestation, a physical manifestation of the Quran, you look at the Ahl-Al-Bayt. Look at Sayyida Fatima az-Zahra radiallahu anha, the blessed daughter of the Prophet ﷺ. I'm trying to give us a picture of who is Imam Hussein. Right? So the Prophet ﷺ refused all the goods of the world. He said, I don't want it. Zuhud of the Prophet ﷺ. Even though he had all the keys to the heavens and the earth, he was given them by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he refused them. So how can you say that Imam Hussein had any desire for khilafah, or he had any desire for a political seat? He didn't have any desire. And I'll explain what happened later. So who is Sayyida Fatima az-Zahra? Sayyida Fatima, the mother of Imam Hussein, the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said, Fatima tu bid'atu minni. That Sayyida Fatima is an integral piece of me. She's a part of me. What does that mean? That if you take, for example, if you go into a mine of diamonds, where everything is diamond, and you take out a piece, what are you going to find? Diamond. So if the Prophet ﷺ is saying, Fatima tu bid'atu minni, that if the kull, if the whole piece of the blessed Prophet ﷺ is pure and afdal, then what about the part of the Prophet ﷺ? It's going to be pure, it's going to have the same qualities of the Prophet ﷺ. Right? From a gold mine, you're going to get gold. From a diamond mine, you're going to get diamond. So when the Prophet ﷺ is saying, Fatima tu bid'atu minni, we have to reflect upon this. And this is why many of the A'imma, and not any regular A'imma, but A'imma like Imam Malik and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal radiallahu anhuma, their opinion was that after the Prophet ﷺ, there is no one greater in rank than Sayyida Fatima. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, Fatima tu bid'atu minni. Because Fatima is an integral part of me. Because the kull is afdal, then the juz of that kull also has to be afdal. Radiallahu anha. And look at Sayyida Fatima alayhi salam radiallahu anha, she would perform 1,000 rak'ah of nawafil in the day and 1,000 rak'ah in the night. This is, I'm telling you, this is Imam Hussein. This is who he's being brought up with. These are his ancestors. This is his mother radiallahu anha. This is his household. This is shaping him in every form and direction. And they would say that they would never see the stove being lit in the house of Sayyidina Fatima. And when Sayyidina Imam Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhuma, they would look into the blessed room and quarters of their mother, they would always see she's either in qiyam or in ruku or in sajda or in ibadah. Always in ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is the father of Imam Hussein? Sayyidina Ali al-Murtada radiallahu anhu. Khalifatu Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ana madinatul ilm wa Ali al-Babu. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I am the city of knowledge and Ali is its gate. If you want knowledge, you have to come to the gate. The Prophet ﷺ said that if I am the Mawla of everybody, then Ali is the Mawla. Subhanallah, radiallahu anhu. This was the i'lan, this was the declaration of the Prophet ﷺ showing the wilayah and showing the sainthood of Sayyidina Ali al-Murtada radiallahu anhu. Subhanallah, this is Imam Ali radiallahu, father of Imam Hussein. So now we see that Imam Hussein being raised in such a household, he does not need any political power. Rather, it was the people who are supposed to take him as their Imam because he is deserving of that. In his time, there was no other grandson compared to him. There was no other person on the face of the earth compared to his rank. Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu. And the person who demanded the Khilafah, Yazid, the wretched person, the Khabith and the La'in, he had none of the qualities, not even an atom of the qualities of Imam Hussein. He was a fasiq, he was an open sinner, he was an adulterer, he was a murderer, he was a person who gambled, he was a person who did all the sins that you can think of. And he's the person demanding Imam Hussein to come and give khilafah. How can the Imam do this? And the reason why the Imam went there, if you study the history, the Imam told some of his close companions, he said that I saw the Prophet ﷺ in a dream. I saw my grandfather ﷺ in a dream. And he ordered me to go to Karbala. He ordered me to go to face Yazid, because the Prophet ﷺ said, your responsibility as my grandson and as my descendant, as my successor and heir, and my warith, is that you have to speak justice in front of the tyrant. Because this is jihad. أفضل جهاد كلمة عدل عند سلطان جائر. The Prophet ﷺ said the best form of jihad is to speak justly in the presence of a tyrannical ruler. If there's a tyrant and a person speaks justice before them and holds fast to the truth, this is the best jihad. The Prophet ﷺ came in the dream of Imam Hussein, his grandson, and ordered him to go. And this was the main reason that he went. Not because he wanted any political power or he wanted any fame. So this is the reason why he went. This is the reason why he was steadfast, because his grandfather, the Prophet of Allah ﷺ, ordered him to go. So whatever tribulation was going to come, he was ready to face. Because he was a person of sabr, a person of istiqamah, and a person who is known as Sultan al-Muwahhidin. His level of tawheed was so great that he is the leader of the monotheists, the leader of the Muwahhidin of his time. And we can see that through the events that happened at Karbala. His family, his eldest son martyred in front of him. His youngest son martyred in his arms. His family after family being martyred, companion after companion being martyred. But still, his gazes and his heart fixed towards the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is not easy. No one can do this except the prophetic household. This is the meaning of the verse that I recited in the beginning. إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلِ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes to purify you with a thorough purification, all members of the household of the Prophet ﷺ. What is this purification? It's not just wudu or ghusl or purifying the physical things. It's actually the purification of the heart, that the person does not desire anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The purification of the batin, the purification of the heart, that the heart is fixed on the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you look at the Imam and his sacrifice, this is what it was. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ, once he was wearing a black cloak, and he took Imam al-Hasan wal-Hussein, Sayyidina Fatima, Sayyidina Ali under it. And he said, Ha'ulai ahli bayti. Allah, these are the members of my family, these are my Ahl-Al-Bayt. And then he recited this verse, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. That indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes to purify you, O members of the household of my family, of the Ahl-Al-Bayt, with a thorough purification. And we see that the dua of the Prophet ﷺ was accepted. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purified them from anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why Imam al-Haddad radiallahu anhu says in his qasida, فَهُمُ الْقَوْمُ الَّذِينَ هُدُوا وَبِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ قَدْ سَعِدُوا وَلِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ مَا قَصَدُوا وَمَعَ الْقُرْآنِ فِي قَرَنِ. That these are the people, the Ahlul Bayt referring to them, فَهُمُ الْقَوْمُ الَّذِينَ هُدُوا. These are the people of guidance. They have been guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَبِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ قَدْ سَعِدُوا. And by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala they are blessed. وَلِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ مَا قَصَدُوا. And they do not desire anything other than Allah. وَلِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ مَا قَصَدُوا. They do not have any desire except the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They've been purified from things other than that. Look at Sayyidina Fatima, look at Imam Ali, look at Sayyidina Hassan and Hussein in their lives. You see this, that they didn't do anything except for the the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were purified from wanting to do things for themselves. They did not want even reward. In the Quran it says, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. When the yatim, when the orphan came, when the poor person came, when the prisoner came to their door of the Ahl-Al, they asked for something. They gave it to them. And what did they say? إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. That indeed we're feeding you for the sake of Allah subhanahu, for the countenance of Allah, for Allah's pleasure. لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. We do not want any reward from you. We don't even want thanks from you. Just take it for the sake of Allah subhanahu. This is the purification that they had. This is the Ahl-Al. And we have to love the Ahl-Al. Why do we have to love? The love of the Ahl-Al is fard upon us from the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. And we have to know where this command is coming from, where this hukum is coming from. The command is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding His Prophet, قُلْ, say, O my beloved Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. That I do not ask you for any reward. Look at how many things we've received from the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet ﷺ saying, I'm not asking you for any reward for all of this that I've given you, except mawadda fil qurba, except true love of my family, true love of my close relatives. The Prophet ﷺ, and look at how many things we receive. Look at the dot that we recite. Qurban mein unke bakhshish ka. Subhanallah. Quran, in the line that says, Subhanallah, Quran mein la unke sadke. We received the Quran from the presence of Rasulullah. It came from Allah, but we received from the Prophet ﷺ. We received the closeness and understanding and knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most compassionate, from the presence of Rasulullah. We received faith from the presence of the Prophet ﷺ. We did not know what faith was until the Prophet ﷺ taught us. We even received the spiritual guides, our teachers, our masters, our shuyukh, from the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What is it that we did not receive? And for this, what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. All these things we've received in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is being ordered by Allah to say that I'm not asking you for any reward except the love of my nearest kin, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in, because they were concerned to understand the verses of the Quran when they were revealed. So they came to the Prophet ﷺ, said, Ya Rasulullah ﷺ, who are these qaraba, or who are these Ahlul Qurba of yours? Who are these nearest of kin of yours? The Prophet ﷺ said, Fatima wa Ali wa Hasan wa Hussein radiallahu anhum ajma'in. Sayyidina Fatima, Imam Ali, Imam Hasan wa Imam Hussein are Al-Qurba. And mawadda is different from hub. I'll leave with this because time is finishing. But the word mawadda in Arabic is different from the word hub. Hub means love, mawadda also means love in translation. But in Arabic, the scholars and the ulama and the mufassirin, they differentiate between mawadda. And they say, you know what mawadda is? If you want to understand mawadda, it's intense. It's more intense than hub. Mawadda is like if you take a fish and you leave it out of water, what happens to the fish? The way the fish, it is suffering. That is the way, that is mawadda. That is mawadda. The way the fish needs the water, that's the way that we have to love the family of the Prophet ﷺ. That's the intensity with which we have to love the family of the Prophet ﷺ. And the reason why the events that happened in Karbala, first and foremost, the qada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This was already meant to happen. But what we see is that there was an absence of love in these people. And they did not see Imam Hussein and his family as the flesh and blood of the Prophet ﷺ. They just saw them as people who were competitors for a seat, which they misunderstood that. They didn't see the love of the Prophet ﷺ. If they had this love, if they had this mawadda by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they would not have. But this is the qada of Allah, qaddar Allahu wa ma sha'a fa'al. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does as He wishes. And this was to actually show the maqam of Imam al-Hussein and his family, and show that they were so steadfast on tawheed that they did not desire anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what happened? Because of that sacrifice, we have our iman until now. Because of that sacrifice, we are still Muslim. Imagine that if the sacrifice was not given, then how would we still have the faith? How would we be steadfast on deen if the rulers were corrupt? And if Yazid was the person who was given Khilafah, then how could the deen be established throughout the world? But it was through the sacrifice of Imam Hussein and the prophetic family and his companions of the Allah that alhamdulillah the deen was upheld. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made that an ultimate sacrifice for the deen of Islam to continue, inshallah, until the day of judgment, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this mawaddah of the Ahl-Bayt, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us His true love, the true love of His Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and His companions, and His Ahl-Bayt, and the awliya Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give shifa and afiyah to all those who are sick and suffering. May Allah remove the suffering from the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Whoever has passed away from the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, may Allah elevate their darajat, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them Jannat al-Firdaus in the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.